Pacifica Radio, I'm Christina Onnested. The Israeli media publications Haaretz and Times of Israel are reporting a private U.S. security firm that employs former elite military members and operates in Africa and other parts of the Middle East will take control of the Rafah border crossing at the Gaza-Egypt border after Israel completes its offensive there. The Biden administration will help the unnamed military contractor if needed. The United Nations has condemned Israel's seizure of the Rafah crossing, where aid is largely stalled and was only allowed to trickle in before Israel's ground invasion Tuesday. Ata Shaheen reports.
James Elder is with the United Nations Children's Fund.
Every warning, every image of children killed and injured, every heartbreaking story of bloodshed and despair, every mind-boggling piece of data of the sheer number of children and mothers killed, of family homes and hospitals destroyed, it's all been ignored. Our worst fears, Gazans' nightmare, appears to be a reality.
Elder listed several reasons why UNICEF is against an invasion of Rafah. Those include, among other things, Rafah has just one toilet for every 850 people, and one shower for every 3,500. Rafah has the last remaining substantial hospital in all of Gaza, and the fact that the Rafah crossing into Egypt is the entry point for the vast majority of aid entering the enclave. Elder said that keeping the crossing shut would lead to famine. For KPFA News, Ata Shaheen.
The U.S. Navy says it's completed building the pier on the coast of Gaza to help deliver humanitarian aid into Gaza, of which parts are in full-blown famine. Days after Hamas attacked the Kerem Shalom crossing into Gaza, the Israeli military says it's reopened the crossing. The UN says no aid has yet to enter Gaza. President Joe Biden is warning of a ferocious surge of anti-Semitism in America and around the world when he spoke at a Holocaust remembrance ceremony at the nation's capital Tuesday. Christopher Martinez reports.
Never again, simply translated for me, means never forget.
President Joe Biden spoke at the Holocaust remembrance ceremony at the U.S. Capitol. He says the hatred of Jews did not begin with the Holocaust, and it did not end there. He says it was brought to life with the October 7th Hamas attacks in southern Israel. Biden reaffirmed his commitment to the security of Israel, saying it's ironclad even when we disagree. He also talked about the controversial issue of campus protests.
To debate and disagree, to protest peacefully, and make our voices heard. I understand that's America, but there is no place on any campus in America, any place in America, for anti-Semitism or hate speech or threats of violence of any kind.
Congress established the Holocaust remembrance more than 40 years ago. President Biden says these days of remembrance fall in difficult times.
We know hate never goes away, it only hides. And given a little oxygen, it comes out from under the rocks. We also know what stops hate. One thing, all of us.
I'm Christopher Martinez.
The group Jewish Voice for Peace condemned the president's speech that attacked protesters and said in a statement on social media, the president disgraced the memory of the Holocaust by using our history of persecution to justify the Israeli military's genocide of Palestinians. For many of us, the only way to honor the memory of our ancestors murdered in the Holocaust is to do everything we can to stop the horrors unfolding in Gaza. President Biden also failed to address the primary source of anti-Semitism in the U.S., white supremacy, and the rise of the far right, Jewish Voice for Peace said. Vermont Independent Senator Bernie Sanders blocked a controversial bill that would expand the definition of anti-Semitism as criticism of the state of Israel that the House passed last week. Civil rights groups say it limits free speech. Sanders, speaking on the Senate floor, said he would introduce his own resolution.
Makes clear our strong opposition to all forms of bigotry in this country, whether on college campuses or elsewhere, including Islamophobia, homophobia, racism, and the growing attacks against the Asian American community. Our goal must be to bring people together as one nation.
He also criticized Congress for trying to pass bills he said target protesters of the war in Gaza without discussing what it is they're actually protesting. Other Jews in Congress have also opposed the legislation, including Democrats Jared Nadler of New York and Sarah Jacobs of California, both in the House chamber. The federal judge in Florida presiding over the classified documents prosecution case of former President Donald Trump canceled the May 20th trial date Tuesday, postponing it indefinitely. The order from District Judge Eileen Cannon had been expected in light of still unresolved issues in the case, in part including the use of classified documents in the trial, and because Trump is currently on trial in a separate case in Manhattan, charging him in connection with hush money payments during his 2016 presidential campaign. That New York case involves several of the same lawyers representing him in Florida. In New York, Trump squirmed and scowled, shook his head, and muttered as adult film star Stormy Daniels described the unexpected sex she says they had in a hotel nearly 2 decades ago. Trump denies her claims and has pled not guilty in the case. I'm Christina Onestad reporting for Pacifica Radio.